sponsored by Max Out Savings Advisors. The views expressed during the broadcast are solely for entertainment purposes and do not necessarily express the views of KNTH, its management, Max Out Savings Advisors, or its sponsors. Max Out Savings Advisors and members of the Max Out Savings team may or may not hold securities mentioned during the show. Plan for your prosperity. Prepare for your retirement. Safeguard your savings. And nurture your investments. This is the Max Out Savings Show with Ted Gioka, a presentation of Max Out Savings Advisors. Now, here's your host from Max Out Savings Advisors, Ted Gioka.
Welcome to the Max Out Savings Show. I'm Ted Gioka, and we're talking savings, investments, and your retirement. Our show is all about saving money, building up wealth, and understanding the world today. Our motto and our philosophy is to save aggressively and invest conservatively. That's the key to building up wealth over the long term, protecting yourself. We live in a world where we have wars all over the place, out of control government spending. You don't know what's going to happen next, and you have to make sure that you protect yourself and your family by saving money. You should put away. We talk about this always at the beginning of the show. Put away money in your company savings plan. You get a tax deduction. You get if you put away $1,000 in your plan, and let's say you put away $10,000 the whole year, you get a $10,000 tax deduction from the government. So you get part of the money back when you file your taxes. You get tax-free growth for the next 25, 30 years while you work. And then when you take the money out, it's taxable. As we talked about, Warren Buffett, studying Warren Buffett, one of the key things he did was to try to do everything he could to manage tax consequences, to minimize that. He bought an insurance company. That's how he got in the insurance business. He realized he could grow his money more tax-free there with the insurance company. And that's when he'd sell a company, he would take stock if he owned it, because he never wanted to pay taxes on anything. And the government gives you this for free, so take advantage. You want to take advantage of the company match. You put away the $10,000. I missed something there. You put away the $10,000. The government gives you a 25% tax deduction. It grows tax free, and then typically the company matches. Anywhere from 2.5% to 7%, so you get another $2,500 to $7,000 on top of it. And so this is so important. We come across people that aren't taking full advantage of that, and it's just a big mistake. This is the best wealth building tool that we've ever come up with. So take advantage of it. At Max Out Savings Advisors, we manage retirement money. People retire, they have an old 401k, they come to us, but we don't manage 401ks. We'll help people out with them from time to time, but that's not our business. But we talk about this because it's so important. This is how you start. This is how you build up wealth. Now, it's harder and harder to keep the wealth at the rate things are going in the world today. As we get the $1 trillion every 100 days we're borrowing, we've got 6% plus budget deficit every year. It's been about 5 years running, which is, only time we've seen like that is World War II, and then we have another war coming up, and this is, I actually on my Twitter account I actually sent out. Thursday, we saw this. We just happened to see something that they were evacuating the embassy Thursday in Baghdad, and I knew that this. I'm like, well, this is not going to be good. And we kind of put a warning on Twitter. Time to be cautious. I mean, we're pretty cautiously set for our clients, and actually in really good shape. But this is a real concern, not just for the investments, not just for retirement. And it's a complicated thing with Iran. To President Trump's credit, he tried to negotiate with the Iranians. The most amazing thing about the whole thing to me is if the Iranians just give up their nuclear ambitions and maybe come up with some type of peace with Israel, there's so much money that can pour into Iran. I mean, there's so many wealthy Iranians in the United States. You go places like L.A. It's like little Tehran over there, and and the country would boom. And instead, you've got these radicals over there that 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 basically whose plan is every time they have a march, it's death to Israel and death to the United States, and you're letting them build nuclear weapons. And yeah, I said on this show when Israel was attacked back in October of I think a year and a half ago, whatever it was. I said, what they should do is they should attack Iran. I wouldn't have attacked Gaza. I would have done some. I would have attacked Gaza. I wouldn't attack Hezbollah. I would have gone straight for Iran because Iran is behind every bit of this stuff. And how I see it is, you just cannot let a bunch of crazy religious zealots that think if they cause World War III, it's going to bring their savior somehow. And the problem we have is that nuclear weapons are materially more dangerous than they were in the 1950s and 60s. People in the 60s, even in the 70s, they would have training. When you were in elementary school, they would have a little training program, and all of a sudden the siren would go off, and everyone would get under their desk or go to the hallway and sit at the side of the hallway. But the amazing thing is, if you step back and look at it in the 60s, we could withstand probably 10 hits on cities with nuclear weapons and come out pretty well. And the world today is utterly interconnected with the internet. Everything is electricity. Everything is interconnected. Everything has been centralized. There's no redundancies left. We had all types of redundancy issues back in the 60s and 70s, and nuclear weapons are devastating to electronics. We launched one of the biggest bombs we launched. A nuclear weapon was in the South Seas. They blew it up, and street lights blew out in Hawaii, which I think it was 1,500 miles away. And so, if it takes out that street light, what's it going to do to a computer? What's it going to do to a modem? What's it going to do to the electronics in cars? And it's absolutely deadly. And so the idea we're letting a bunch of clowns run around this world with nuclear weapons is absolutely ridiculous. If you look at the studies on what an EMP to do to the United States, it is frightening. It's actually one of the most frightening things you'll ever read. And we've had congressmen on our show talking about the importance of EMP in the United States. It costs about $100 billion. We can't even get them to do that. And so there's enormous risk. If we can get Iran out of the way, then we can work on North Korea next. And maybe it takes us 5 or 10 years to work on North Korea, but eventually you can't let just radical groups have these. It's too dangerous, and it's too much of an existential threat to the United States, to Europe, to China, to all these countries. And so look, I mean, Iran is getting what they deserved, but the problem is, what's it going to do to business out there and things like that? And I think this is where it gets interesting. I mean, Iran still has a lot of optionality to do something. And so we want to watch this closely as far as the markets. If you look at the markets, the problem to me that the market has in here is, the stock market for your retirement is, we made some comments recently on the show. I think it was the last show. Is this market seems to be absorbing anytime there's a negative. It came out. Donald Trump announced Liberation Day, first part of April, I think it was, and all of a sudden Wall Street goes, well, wait, he's serious. They're like utterly shocked. Donald Trump is serious about tariffs. And they were even floating balloons out there from senior Washington people weeks ahead of time. Donald Trump is serious about tariffs. But Wall Street kept thinking, no, he's going to sit there and not do it and fold and everything else. And so nothing to see here. So the market, he says, look, I am serious. The market plunges, drops 20% off the top pretty quickly, and then rallies by the end of the month like nothing had happened. And since then, there's been setbacks in tariffs. The market goes down, 0.5%, and then goes that day, and then goes zooming back up again, or war, something, the Ukrainians, launch an attack on Russia's nuclear infrastructure, which is a big concern, and the market goes down for like 5 minutes and goes zooming back up, and no matter what happens, the market just keeps going up, and now we're to a point of the market's near a double top. I mean, the S&P 500 is within about 1.6% of a top right here. We don't have a budget deal. We still have to do the debt ceiling. Keep in mind, we're not really borrowing a lot of money now because the government is using their cash. Since we hit the debt ceiling, you can't borrow any more money. So what they do is they're using kind of the cash in the bank, so to speak, in their checking accounts. They're drawing it down to keep things going without having to borrow money. But eventually we're going to have to go back to the debt markets. What's going to happen then? But the market is just ignoring that. It's ignoring everything. It's back up to the top. And one of the interesting things about this market is it's 1.6% from the top on the Nasdaq, on the S&P 500. In the Nasdaq, it's right at the top, close to a breakout, and within percent or so, basically Wednesday, Thursday before this the Iran war situation broke out. And about Thursday, about 1 o'clock or so, I happened to just see a tweet, and I'm like, the U.S. evacuating image. I'm like, what's going on here? And that's when I knew. And so then the market started selling off. But the problem is the market had a massive recovery from Donald Trump's thing. All of these things are still out there. Now we're dealing with Iran. And the market, they've been bringing in new issues to the market. One of the companies went up 200%. I think Voyager, they're in the space business, and we're seeing huge demand for IPOs. IPOs gapping out, massive buying. I was talking to the people at Granite Shares. They do ETFs that they're like double power Palantir, twice double power Nvidia, in Tesla ETFs. So if Tesla goes up 3%, their ETF theoretically goes up 6%. And what's happening is small investors are piling into this rather than getting margin or they're like, Ted, we brought in like $6 billion. We can't believe it. This reminds me a lot of 1999 with the public. I think when the market had the break in April, it went zooming right back up. The public became convinced there's no way they can lose. And then there's a frenzy about AI. There's a frenzy about quantum computing coming up. And it's just it reminds me of 1999. I heard Jeffrey Gundlach make some comments like, look, this reminds me of 1999 as well. A number of people see 1999. It's not that the valuations are 100 times earnings, though some of them certainly are. It's just the absolute panic for the public to get involved in here. And that's a concern. Gundlach made a point. He goes, look, the market sold down in April on this news, and it's gone back up. It peaked in February, late February, and then plunged down. It's gone back up to right where it was, but the earnings estimates have actually dropped since then. So the market's gotten more expensive as this is going on. And now all of a sudden we have this war with Iran, which we're going to kind of expand upon a little bit, has popped up, and the market is way up here. So the question is, do we break out of a double top for surging to a new bull market here, or is there something else going on that could threaten your retirement? We're going to talk about that right after this quick break right here on the Max Out Savings Show.
If you've got savings and investment questions, Ted Gioka has answers. Call the Max Out Savings Show now at 713-339-1070. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Sam Malone, the owner of Houston's cutting-edge media company called 512 New Media. At 512 New Media, we create amazing videos that companies use on their websites, telling their story in bold colors with exciting animation and graphics. At 512 New Media, we also shoot television commercials and instructional videos. And if you want to show off your business from the air, we're ready to go with our drone video aircraft. Let us help you create your media message. We're online at 512newmedia.com or call 281-822-8803. 512 New Media is Houston's only media creation and distribution company that's actually owned by someone who's currently on the air. And that gives us an incredible edge when creating content for consumers to use on their laptops, tablets, and smartphones. Standing by to create your message, we're 512 New Media, 512newmedia.com.
Hi, this is Ted Gioka of the Max Out Savings Show. Our motto and philosophy is to save aggressively and invest conservatively. The world is changing at a faster rate than any time in the last 50 years. The investment world has changed. Have you changed? Inflation will destroy your retirement. It is a different world that requires different strategies and ideas. The era of indexing and investing is over. If you need help, listen to the Max Out Savings Show. Our show airs every Saturday at 10 a.m. and Sunday at 7 a.m. We talk about investments, the world, and where the world is going today, and help you understand it and help you save money and build up wealth. It's the Max Out Savings Show. And if you need some help, go to our website, maxoutsavings.com. That's maxoutsavings.com. On the website, you can sign up for the free Max Out Savings Report. Our report covers all types of these big issues, the changes in the world, and helps you understand and protect your retirement. So go to the website, maxoutsavings.com.
We return now to the Max Out Savings Show. Here's Ted Gioka.
Welcome back to the Max Out Savings Show. So we're simply talking about the different markets here. The market is very high. It's very expensive. And something we talked on the show the other day is the concern I have is everybody always thinks everything is going to work out. I mean, it's kind of reached the point where studying history and stuff and going to the AI and stuff, oh, the market recovered, recently. How do markets form in bear markets? Well, the last bear market technically was just about April of 2025, and the market corrected down 20% from February to about April 15th, and then April 1st or April 5th, and then rallied back up to where it was by the end of the month. It's like should I always be in the market? Oh yes, always. You should always be in the stock market. It always goes up. Look at World War II. German market was up before World War II. Hitler caused a war, and then by the end of a decade and a half, the market was up again. You're like, wait a minute, Germany was obliterated. Everybody got wiped out. It's like people, they're not looking. The depth of their knowledge is 100 miles wide and a half an inch deep, and they don't understand the context. They don't understand anything. It's just like, hey, everything always works out for the better. Well, I can just go on and on and on about the things that don't work out for the better. I mean, the Russia-Ukraine war was supposed to be over quickly. That's going on for 2 years. If you look at the Vietnam War, went forever. If you look at runs of inflation, they tend to run about about 5 years. It's one thing. These things, and then they're corrosive and they take time, and they cause problems. And so this is it's just like with this war. Oh look. Israel's bombing Iran. Well, that the last one went on for 3 days, and then Iran launched another missile salvo at a bunch of military bases that most likely had been evacuated by Israel out in the desert that caused no harm, and it had face-saving way for the Iranians, and it was all over. This is different. I mean, we taking out their entire upper echelon of leadership. We're bombing them all over the place. And the question is, where does it go from here? And that's not something that can be really. I mean, ideally, everyone would like this thing, have peace by hopefully by about 6 o'clock on Sunday, 6 p.m., so they can get ready for when the futures markets opens up, and the market goes back up again. But it doesn't always work that way. And so we'll have to see how this plays out. But this is a hard war. This is not a we're bombing six missile sites. This is a massive war. And make no mistake about it. And the Iranians aren't completely toothless. They are sitting on nuclear stuff. They do have most likely people embedded around the world that can cause all types of issues. They have they can shut off the oil and gas through the Straits of Hormuz. I mean, who wants to sit there and run a tanker through there if they're going to sit there and not blow it out of the water? I mean, the numbers are about 20% of the world's global oil consumption comes through that Persian Gulf. And so there's a lot of potential outcomes here. And you have a stock market that is very high, that is very overbought, that had a massive short squeeze on top of it. And a lot of the big institutions and a lot of hedge funds are levered up in here. And so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. So now another thing I just want to touch base on with Donald Trump. And one of the things we've seen on this is look, this is a war. Make no mistake about it. When you're talking, hundreds of military sorties, bombs going all over the place, missiles going over, hypersonic missiles falling on major cities across the globe. Okay, with two countries that likely have. That we know one we know has numerous nuclear weapons, and one maybe has something with nuclear on it. It's not a joke, And President Trump has been negotiating, trying to sit there and get the Iranians. He's had teams over there working on them. Now, the Democrats have done everything they can to sabotage President Trump. No matter what he does, it's not good enough. And one of the things they came up with was TACO, which means Trump always chickens out, which means if Trump takes a real strong negotiating position, negotiates away, and then settles for much less and gets the deal done and everybody's happy, that's a huge loss because Donald Trump, they want to make sure that Donald Trump, in whatever Donald Trump does, it's important for Donald Trump to lose. Now, never mind if he's president of the United States and the U.S. loses. We hate Donald Trump and we've lost our minds. So TACO came out. Trump always chickens out. Well, the Iranians are sitting there and, they're negotiating back and forth. And President Trump told them, guys, look, we have weapons you would not believe. They're incredibly powerful. We can't keep going on. I can't keep holding back Israel. You guys have to do something. You have to get rid of these programs. This is going to be good for you. This will open up your country, but Israel will come, and you cannot believe the weapons we have. Well, the Iranians go back, to talk. The negotiating team goes back. And the mullahs and the people at the top of Iran, what are they going to say? Hey, TACO, Trump always chickens out. We don't have anything to worry about. Let's keep dragging this out and dragging this out. They'll back down. The Americans always back down. Even their newspapers all said Trump is TACO. Trump always chickens out. Well, now we have a major war that could go nuclear. And by the way, we should have been able to get a deal. And one reason you talk really tough is because you want people to understand on the other side you're serious. You want everyone to come to the table. You want to get a deal and you want to get peace. But when you have these clowns in the media and the Democrats talking about Trump always chickens out, then the Iranians figured we were going to chicken out, nothing was going to happen, and here we are in a war. And so this is something to think about. It's really what the Democrats have done to this country is just disgraceful. I mean, their 4 years in office was devastating, flooding the country with 10 to 15, really probably 12 to 17 million illegal aliens, running up massive trillion-dollar deficits, 30% increase, 32% I think increase in deficit, leaving us with $36 trillion worth of debt. It's absolutely disastrous, and now they're doing everything they can to sabotage the president. And this is the type of stuff we get into. So what I want you to understand is this is a serious war. Hopefully it's going to get over with. Understand, this is not like the Iraq War where there was months and months of, hey, we're building up, we're going to do something, we might invade type of thing, and the market goes down, 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 and they're all frightened, and the invasion happens in the market. This is a situation that the market was, I believe, caught off guard. Clearly, the Iranians were caught badly off guard, and if the Iranians were caught that off guard, then you can bet much of Wall Street's been caught off guard too, and so this is something we have to kind of see. But beginning that 1999. That was really when people were just going crazy for stock, and we're back into that world. I mean, NVIDIA, Tesla, Palantir. The list just goes on. Quantum computing is going to start up next week, and by the end of the year, we're going to be flying around in Star Trek space class all over the world. I mean, it's just so that's a very high market, a very expensive market. The public's heavily in, huge amounts of leverage, and then having an unexpected thing could lead to some problems. And so I think this is kind of, I think you do have to be cautious in a couple of things we want to talk about, because again, we want to watch when an unexpected thing happens. You want to watch closely to see how different things are reacting. You want to see are rates going up, or what's if you look at interest rates, typically when there's something like this, everybody flees to treasuries. That didn't happen this time. The treasury rates actually went up, and so interest rates were up 1.5% on Friday. That's very unusual. And again, this goes to the question of, is the United States Treasury still a safety asset? I think it is. Someone pointed out, look, people don't believe this is going to be World War III. We don't either, but that doesn't mean it can't go on for a while and it can't get worse. It doesn't have a possibility to, you could look back and say this is the start of World War III. None of us know. But again, you would like to have seen a bid on the treasuries, because it would confirm that the U.S. is where people run for safety. And the dollar did rally a little bit. It was up 0.25%, which is a positive there, because people are flocking back to the safety of the U.S. So this is something we want to watch. But if we take a look at, and again, the Israel's attack on Iran. It was pretty unexpected, so there's not a lot. I actually think, looking at the markets, I think somebody knew. I'll say this. I think somebody knew sometime earlier this week. I think there was some very, very shrewd money in their hedging, because there were things going up, and yet for some reason it was a real hot market. And yet the market wasn't going up like it should have been going. It was just a few narrow things. And so I think some people got wind of this earlier in the week, but it was not that much at all. But so what did work? What did happen? Gold went up. Gold went up 1.4%. The gold was up $46 Friday. Okay, so that again, it's this bid in gold which has just been relentless. And so as we talked about, it's almost, we were saying, I think last week, a couple weeks on the show, it's almost like something is going to be happening. Why is gold going up? And sure enough, silver didn't go up as much. Silver was about even, but keep in mind, silver's had a massive breakout to the upside. It's looking very good there. So those are and then the other thing that happened again. So what happened? Israel attacks Iraq. It's a big story. What the other thing that moved was oil. West Texas crude was up $8, It's interesting. If you look at West Texas crude on Wednesday, it jumped up. So there was some little rumblings out there. Like I said, and really it was kind of a funky thing Tuesday, and that's when I think some people got wind of what was going on. But for the week, if you look at West Texas crude, which is at $73, this is a big move up. For the week, it's up 13%, up 860. So huge move up in crude oil. Crude oil's been selling down. And again, the problem is who wants to run a tanker through the Persian Gulf, through the Straits of Hormuz right now? I mean, it's almost an easy thing to do for the Iranians to sit there and accidentally, shoot a bunch of missiles and accidentally hit a tanker just to sit there and let everybody know what they can do, sometime in the next couple of days, which is going to spook the markets even more. And so there's going to be a lot of gamesmanship back and forth on this thing. So we're going to have to see. I mean, it's really very sad that President Trump, I really believe he wanted a deal. I mean, all the Iranians had to do was cut out the nuclear enrichment, and they just weren't willing to do it. And we've been going on with this stuff for 50 years with the Iranians. I mean, Jimmy Carter, it was taking over the embassy. I mean, in hindsight, it's done a long time ago. They should have gone in there and done something with Iran. It's been nothing but, and it's sad for the Iranian people. I mean, most of these Iranians, they're like Cubans. They've all fled Iran, and what you got there. So anyway, that's kind of where we're at. Markets again, they reacted. The Russell 2000 down 1.83%. In the S&P down 1.3% Friday, which isn't that much. Again, it actually came up to being down like 0.5%. I'm like, what are these people smoking? I mean, clearly we know something's going to. Nobody wants to be in this market over the weekend, and so. But what you see happen in those, why the market would be down 0.5% when something out of the blue hits like this, and it was pretty much of a shock. I was actually out at an event Thursday night, and I'm coming back home, and all of a sudden I just flip on that. I'm like, what? Where did this come from? And we worked a lot of the night on this stuff, and is that when you see an event like that, a couple things happen. Is the big institutions kind of pull back their selling because they don't want it to go down. And I'm convinced that Goldman Sachs and the people running the big stock buyback programs for all the companies, I think they figure there's going to be more volume, so they increase the buying on the they really ramp up the stock buyback programs. And if you look at something like Apple, it's just kind of an example. It opened up. It actually opened up on the day. That stock buyback program's coming in, or at least maybe they're not executing it at that time, but they're moving big, huge, and they're trying to stabilize the market. And so, again, I think it's time for caution. This is something I think we want to watch and see because really. This market has really been driven up by short covering. Well, once they had that the tariff issue and the market plunged like it did, and it was, if you remember, it was a nasty decline. They had huge numbers of people short, and then they just squeezed them all up. And one of the things you have to understand about the world today is there's so much money in the world, it's unbelievable. There's so much money everywhere. I mean, it's literally been raining money from the sky for 5 years. Our debt's going up. About $12 trillion. I mean, we have a $24 trillion economy. So in the last 4 years or so, you're talking about they put in 4 or 5 years. They put in a half a U.S. economy worth of dollars out there, and so these dollars are just everywhere out there, and they almost overwhelm the investing world, and that's what you're seeing. The problem we're running into is those, and this is the key point, is those dollars are depreciating. The dollar's down about, the dollar was opened up the year right around 109. It's at 90. It's down over 10. Down 10%. So those dollars have depreciated 10%, and they're going to depreciate more. One of the real stories: this dollar is going to continue over time to go lower because nobody wants to be in currencies that they're constantly flooding the world with more and more dollars. And President Trump is having a very difficult time cutting spending. And so this is we're dealing with the answer to what we're talking about today is we're dealing with a very, very uncertain, unstable world with many potential variables out there. And this is what we talked about on the show, how you've got to diversify your assets, the 60-40, 60% S&P 500 and 40% bonds, long-term bonds, is over the next decade is not going to work. You have to diversify into these different asset classes, small cap, overseas. Overseas is doing better. Commodities, look at precious metals up huge this year. There's plenty of ways to make money in the world, but the old way of the S&P 500 in the 60-40 is not going to work. We'll be right back after this quick break right here on the Max Out Savings Show.
The Max Out Savings Show with Ted Gioka will return shortly. To speak with Ted Gioka now, call 713-339-1070. Back in a moment with the Max Out Savings Show.
This is Ted Gioka, host of the Max Out Savings Show, one of Houston's most popular financial radio shows, celebrating over a decade on the air in Houston, Texas. With stocks at record high valuations and interest rates near record lows, you need to have your guard up. You need to have a plan to manage risk to your retirement. Do you? At Max Out Savings Advisors, we have a risk-based value investing approach to your retirement. If you would like some help managing your retirement, go to maxoutsavings.com to set up an appointment. That's maxoutsavings.com.
I'm Sam Malone, president of 512 New Media. We're Houston's leading marketing and content creation firm for many reasons. Our assets are exceptional, from video production to web design, strategy, and the ability to say no. Saying no is integral in launching a successful, profitable campaign. For example, take a look at Memorial Day. It's a federal holiday set aside to honor and mourn those in our U.S. military who died while serving our country. I'll say it again, for those who died while serving our country. So how does having a sale work in unison with the reason for the day off? Look, we know people will be at the beach and barbecuing and having parties. We would probably say no to launching a Memorial Day sale. So is there another way to commemorate the day while marketing your brand? Absolutely. And from our experience, the same holds true with Easter Day sales and MLK Day sales and Christmas Day sales. That's why we're different. No cookie cutter, follow the crowd, template marketing. Let's talk. We're 512 New Media. 512 New Media. With better marketing comes better value, creating better results.
If you can snap your fingers, you can find this radio station. So the next time you want to listen to us, your smartphone is now your smart radio. We're always on. This is AM 1070, The Answer.
And now, more of the Max Out Savings Show with Ted Gioka.
Welcome back to the Max Out Savings Show. A couple things we want to mention. One of our sponsors, Rangoni Gin, a incredible organic, totally organic, natural botanical gin from the Italian Alps. It's got a phenomenal flavor profile, and they mix up these incredible botanicals. They've been doing this for up in the mountains for thousands of years and been able to come up with incredible products. So if you get a chance, give it a try. It's Rangoni Alto Gin. Look for the kingfisher bird on the label. You can get it at Specs. Also, if you get a chance, don't forget, Sam Malone has a new podcast. You go to sammalone.com and you can access his new podcast. It's pretty interesting stuff, and and we all love Sam, so this is exciting. So where do we go? A couple things I want to talk about here is we had some questions on this the other day. The annual gifting limit, if you want to give your children or someone else money, you can give them up to $19,000 each. And like a husband and wife can give, that works out to be, I think, $38,000 total. They can give they each have to give $19,000 separately. And so you can't write a $38,000. Well, I don't know if you can or can't, but I would write a $19,000 check from dad and a $19,000 check from mom to be on the safe side with that. Where this helps out is if you want to give your children some money for a house, typically a house or a wedding or something, or school. The school they tend to overlook that pretty much, but for a house or something along those lines, or to start up a business, it's a pretty good way. Look, I do think it's important to help your children out if you can. Some people, like I want my kids from. I would agree with that. I think with the exception of a house, because it's much more difficult to get in houses than we were getting into. I remember I got my first house. It was down off of, it was West U, kind of south side of West U at the time. I think I paid $60,000 for it, and it was like I think it was $67,000. It was like, oh my God, this is so much money. I just can't believe it. And looking back on it, the percentage of my income actually wasn't that high. To get into a house nowadays is much more higher percentage of most people's income, but it seemed like all the money in the world to me. And I think we got very little help, and we had to work and stuff. I always had to listen. My wife pointing out that the friends that were living in Tanglewood. So I'm like, how did these people get into Tanglewood? Certainly they don't have the money to get into Tanglewood, and it was obvious that their parents gave them the money to get in there. But that's another story. But I do think it's important to to help your children out. So you can do that $19,000. The gifting is $13.99 million. And by the way, if these Trump tax things don't pass, that's going to change, and then you might have to change up your the giving the stuff. So you got to be in a pretty high bracket, particularly if it's a husband and wife. You're talking twice that much money, So it's a pretty fair deal. But I think the important one is really that $19,000 to help your kids out and stuff. I think that's so important. So you can give out $19,000 per year, per person, per giver, if that helps out, and that's tax free on that. So again, you always want to look at your tax savings. Is this going to cost me money? You want to balance your savings. So you have, if you've got, and we come across people from time to time like this. They'll have $1.5 million in an IRA, and then they'll have like $15,000 or $10,000 in their checking or their non-qualified plans. You want to kind of balance that out. So if a big medical issue comes up, or you want to help your kids out, or you want to buy a new car or something, you don't have to go and pull $19,000 out of your IRA and get taxable, or $50,000 for a car out of your IRA, so you jump up your tax rates. You want to kind of make sure you balance when you're coming up in retirement and stuff, putting away money. If you have just a huge amount of money in your IRA but not much in your savings, and it's surprising how often that happens, try to kind of maybe go for a Roth IRA and start pumping money into the Roth IRA, because that money can come out tax-free, to kind of balance that out. This is one of the things we see with the surprising number of really pretty wealthy people. It's surprising how little non-qualified money. They might have tons in real estate and everything, and big giant IRA and everything else, and they have very small amounts in just what I call a non-qualified, which could be a checking account, a savings account, the joint account or whatever. But understand, over the next 20 years or so, when you were 25, 30 years when you retired, you might need a big chunk of money, and do you want to take it out and run your tax bill up on that? So it's something to think about on that level there. What else we have? So we're kind of, the markets are dealing with a lot right now. A couple thoughts. We continue to see moves up in the precious metals. Gold up over 25% year to date. It's done phenomenally well. The markets are barely up. I don't believe the gold and silver stocks have made their big run yet. I mean, really, if you sit and look at it, it's just earlier today looking at. If you look at the price of gold, gold has gone from back in 24. It was around 1,800. It hit 1,800 a couple times. Here it is 3,400. So it's almost double, not quite doubled. But if you look at some of the stocks, just like a Newmont as an example, Newmont was trading back then. It hit $48, and here it is. It's actually had a pretty big run this week. Actually, it was up 10%, but earlier, last week it was at $52.4.
In the 1970s, the big song was the Bee Gees' Stayed Alive. Well, it was difficult back then to stay alive if you were a retiree. Inflation was running rampant, and since then, over the last 25 years, it's gone away. Well, inflation's coming back, and it's going to endanger your retirement. If you're a retiree, inflation is your biggest enemy. Hi, this is Ted Gioka of the Max Out Savings Show. If you need help with your retirement, I'd like to help you out. Go to maxoutsavings.com. That's maxoutsavings.com, and we'll show you how you manage through inflation. Don't let inflation destroy your retirement. Hi, this is Ted Gioka of the Max Out Savings Show. Our motto and philosophy is to save aggressively and invest conservatively. The world is changing at a faster rate than any time in the last 50 years. The investment world has changed. Have you changed? Inflation will destroy your retirement. It is a different world that requires different strategies and ideas. The era of indexing and investing is over. If you need help, listen to the Max Out Savings Show. Our show airs every Saturday at 10 a.m. and Sunday at 7 a.m. We talk about investments, the world, and where the world is going today, and help you understand it and help you save money and build up wealth. It's the Max Out Savings Show. And if you need some help, go to our website, maxoutsavings.com. That's maxoutsavings.com. On the website, you can sign up for the free Max Out Savings Report. Our report covers all types of these big issues, the changes in the world, and helps you understand and protect your retirement. So go to the website, maxoutsavings.com.
Hey everybody, Charlie Kirk here. Ted Gioka, the founder of Max Out Savings Advisors, always says, save aggressively and invest conservatively. He specializes in helping people grow their retirement account with as little risks as possible. Ted combines working knowledge with the intuition gained from over 25 years of experience of value investing in the stock and bond markets for retirement accounts. Like you, Ted is deeply conservative in life and in his investment approach. His risk strategy allows him to anticipate market downswings to protect your money. Ted is also the conservative host of the Max Out Savings Show. You can listen to him every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. right here on The Answer. If the idea of saving aggressively and investing conservatively appeals to you, the best way to get to know Ted is to call him. The number is 713-627-0400 or visit maxoutsavings.com. That is maxoutsavings.com. Call Ted right now, 713-627-0400, or visit maxoutsavings.com.
In the 1970s, the big song was the Bee Gees' Stayed Alive. Well, it was difficult back then to stay alive if you were a retiree. Inflation was running rampant, and since then, over the last 25 years, it's gone away. Well, inflation's coming back, and it's going to endanger your retirement. If you're a retiree, inflation is your biggest enemy. Hi, this is Ted Gioka of the Max Out Savings Show. If you need help with your retirement, I'd like to help you out. Go to maxoutsavings.com. That's maxoutsavings.com, and we'll show you how you manage through inflation. Don't let inflation destroy your retirement.
Hi, I'm Sam Malone, the owner of Houston's cutting-edge media company called 512 New Media. At 512 New Media, we create amazing videos that companies use on their websites. telling their story in bold colors with exciting animation and graphics. At 512 New Media, we also shoot television commercials and instructional videos. And if you want to show off your business from the air, we're ready to go with our drone video aircraft. Let us help you create your media message. We're online at 512newmedia.com or call 281-822-8803. 512 New Media is Houston's only media creation and distribution company that's actually owned by someone who's currently on the air. And that gives us an incredible edge when creating content for consumers to use on their laptops, tablets, and smartphones. Standing by to create your message, we're 512 New Media, 512newmedia.com.
Hi, this is Ted Gioka of the Max Out Savings Show. Our motto and philosophy is to save aggressively and invest conservatively. The world is changing at a faster rate than any time in the last 50 years. The investment world has changed. Have you changed? Inflation will destroy your retirement. It is a different world that requires different strategies and ideas. The era of indexing and investing is over. If you need help, listen to the Max Out Savings Show. Our show airs every Saturday at 10 a.m. and Sunday at 7 a.m. We talk about investments, the world, and where the world is going today, and help you understand it and help you save money and build up wealth. It's the Max Out Savings Show. And if you need some help, go to our website, maxoutsavings.com. That's maxoutsavings.com. On the website, you can sign up for the free Max Out Savings Report. Our report covers all types of these big issues, the changes in the world, and helps you understand and protect your retirement. So go to the website, maxoutsavings.com.
This is Ted Gioka, host of the Max Out Savings Show, one of Houston's most popular financial radio shows, celebrating over a decade on the air in Houston, Texas. With stocks at record high valuations and interest rates near record lows, you need to have your guard up. You need to have a plan to manage risk to your retirement. Do you? At Max Out Savings Advisors, we have a risk-based value investing approach to your retirement. If you would like some help managing your retirement, go to maxoutsavings.com to set up an appointment. That's maxoutsavings.com. In the 1970s, the big song was the Bee Gees' Staying Alive. Well, it was difficult back then to stay alive if you were a retiree. Inflation was running rampant, and since then, over the last 25 years, it's gone away. Well, inflation's coming back, and it's going to endanger your retirement. If you're a retiree, inflation is your biggest enemy. Hi, this is Ted Gioka of the Max Out Savings Show. If you need help with your retirement, I'd like to help you out. Go to maxoutsavings.com. That's maxoutsavings.com, and we'll show you how you manage through inflation. Don't let inflation destroy your retirement.
This has been the Max Out Savings Show with Ted Gioka, a presentation of Max Out Savings Advisors. Join us next Saturday at 10 a.m. for the Max Out Savings Show with Ted Gioka on AM 1070. The Answer.